I think we shouldn't so much be asking whether Google is too big. We should be asking whether Google is getting big in ways that the existing regulatory and policy framework, which is designed to deal with problems of bigness, doesn't address. And I think that in general terms, Google is perhaps reaching the point when it's getting big in ways that are problematic, but it's still doing a lot of good, and it's not yet too big in the sense of challenging the existing regulatory framework. 3 areas where I think this is worth thinking about. One is competition. There have been a number of cases where the competition authorities have got involved with Google's behaviour, for example, when it purchased DoubleClick, an advertising company, in 2008. And in most of these cases, competition authorities find that what Google's doing is actually in accordance with competition law, and the detriment to consumers, the abuse of dominance, is not sufficiently a problem. But there are some problems that you can see on the horizon. For example, Google very often entering markets in ways which may inhibit the entry of those markets or investment in those markets by people potentially competing with Google. And you can think of markets, for example, in GPS devices being affected by the Google smartphones, and a series of other markets where the potential of Google to enter that market could act as a chilling factor. Second area where bigness might be a problem is in relation to privacy. There are existing frameworks and laws for dealing with privacy, obviously data protection law, but there is a sense in which Google and the amount and the quality of data that it is gathering about consumers could constitute a problem in ways which is not quite captured by the current regulatory framework. We're all spooked out by advertising around Gmail and by other ways in which Google is collecting data. Sometimes I think we tend to exaggerate the problems with the activities of Google. But I think the relationship of Google to the Chinese government suggests that maybe Google is becoming a one-stop shop for private personal data in ways which would not potentially be problematic if that data were held by a number of different organisations. So privacy might be a problem, but I think the problem tends to be exaggerated currently. And finally, third area, media pluralism. We don't often think about Google as a media company, but it's entering a lot of content markets. And in media markets, we tend to have a concern with media pluralism that goes beyond merely competition and freedom of choice between different providers. So when Google is now entering the television market, and obviously well established in book delivery and book storage, we might see some horizon questions opening up about the impact of a powerful controller of key gateways on what gets distributed over the networks and what kind of content people are accessing.